Governments are reimposing lockdowns, but gamers around the world will be easy to console. Microsoft's latest Xbox was released on Tuesday and Sony's PlayStation 5 on Thursday.
I'm looking forward to a new console. I picked up the PS4 years ago when that came up and I started playing games a bit more, so I was like, why not?
Due to social distancing rules, there were no lines at video game stores for the new PlayStation.
Look, it's COVID, so I guess not many people want to rush to a launch, crowd the stores, but there also wasn't enough stock, so if you didn't pre-order, what's the point coming in?
Those pre-orders started last month, with the cheapest PlayStation 5 costing just under $500. And the numbers have been so good that Sony's raised its annual profit forecast by 13% to $6.7 billion.
The nesting demand from the coronavirus has had a positive impact on our gaming business.
More than 100 million people bought the previous generation PlayStation 4, which was released in 2013. Microsoft sold about half as many of the previous generation Xbox, which went on sale the same year. This time around, the Xbox has a big advantage. The cheapest of the new version sells for just $300. And while analysts remain split on who will win the latest console war, they all agree units will be in short supply well into the new year. Laila Humairah, TRT World.
Well, for more, let's bring in technology expert and video games journalist Guy Cooker, who joins us from York. Welcome to the program, Guy. Now, admittedly, I haven't owned a games console since the original Nintendo, would you believe? So I'm a bit behind when it comes to this sort of technology. But how do the two consoles stack up? The Xbox X from Microsoft and the PlayStation 5, which is better in your opinion?
Well, you need to get involved, Oscar. It's a great time to be a gamer. Obviously, you know, everyone's been in lockdown and been sort of restricted for entertainment options over the last few months. And the gaming industry has definitely boomed during that time with more downloads and more revenue driving for the game makers and the console manufacturers. I think this time around with this generation, you know, a new console generation comes around every 7 years or so. And with this generation, there is honestly a little bit less to get excited about. There's no huge jump in graphical quality. There's no real brand new feature. This is really an iteration on a product in the same way that we get iterations on the Apple iPhone and the latest Google phones. But I think that the momentum is certainly with Sony PlayStation coming into this generation. That console, the last console, the PlayStation 4, sold upwards of around 110 million consoles around the globe. Not quite as popular as the PlayStation 2, still the greatest selling console ever made, but certainly outstripping the Xbox by about 2-to-1 consoles. What's interesting, though, is Microsoft is really doubling down on recurrent revenue, which is something that investors love. Obviously, it's the Netflix model for gaming, if you will, and they're pushing this service called Xbox Game Pass. It varies slightly from region to region, but about $15 a month, and you get access to a library of about 100 games, including Microsoft's latest releases. And I actually think that's going to be the big mover in terms of the games industry overall, moving to that sort of model, allowing players to play on any device, whether it's their PC, their mobile phone, or their Xbox console if they have one. And I think that certainly at the moment, Sony doesn't have a compelling answer to that proposition.
Okay, and of course we're seeing the release of these latest consoles in the middle of a pandemic. In places like the UK, where you are, and other parts of the world, we've got lockdown measures returning amid a surge in coronavirus cases. Sony and Microsoft are betting that perhaps with more people spending more time at home, sales will also go up. Do you expect that to be the case?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you're trying to get a hold of these consoles, the Xbox just launched a couple of days ago, and the PlayStation, at least in many parts of Europe, isn't out till next week. It has launched globally. It's not out until next week in Europe. It's really hard to get a hold of these consoles, even though they're selling for around £450. Each of these consoles, actually notably, has a sort of lesser offering, a less expensive offering for those that maybe don't want a disk drive or don't want to have the latest 4K gaming experiences. There are consoles that are around around $300 as well. But those premium ones, those are the ones that gamers are really excited about. The sort of people that go out and buy a console on the launch day, they want the latest technological experience, and they're willing to drop quite a lot of money to get that experience. And so it'll be interesting. I think that the PlayStation next week is really going to get a lot of people excited. It's, you know, that PlayStation branding, Sony's done such a phenomenal job worldwide in terms of driving that as a equivalent of just the PlayStation name meaning gaming to a lot of people. I think what's interesting though, as we move through this year, is that people are just really getting into games much more than just on their consoles. So they're playing games on their mobiles. You know, they say this generation there are 200 million consoles sold across PlayStation and Xbox, which is a legitimate expectation to have. There are many more gamers that will never buy a games console, and they're the ones that are out there that are playing games like Fortnite, which are driving huge revenues for the game makers. So actually, while consoles are still really important, the games industry as a whole is moving much more beyond the traditional console experience and allowing you to play wherever and whenever you want. And as we've seen through the pandemic and through lockdown, there are so many people playing games now that it really is a mass market entertainment. It's an industry that's worth much more than movies and music and television.
Sure is. I'll have to see if I can get my hands on either of those consoles. Guy Cooker, thank you again for joining us on the program.